Fulham bucked the trend and recovered from a first-leg defeat to progress to the Championship playoff final with a 2-0 win over Derby County on Monday evening. Second-half goals from Ryan Sessegnon and Denis Odoi secured the victory on the night and a 2-1 win on aggregate, as they became just the second team in 17 to complete a turnaround at the semi-final stage. Here are 4 talking points from a huge night at Craven Cottage. Ryan Sessegnon made his mark at the perfect time. Fulham knew what they had to do from the first whistle and started with the verve and purpose they ended the first leg with, but Derby were equally prepared, remaining regimented in midfield and springing impressively on the counter-attack, just Gary Rowett has required. Slavisa Jakanovic made one change to his side and, unsurprisingly, it came on the right of the front three. Abubakar Kamara replaced Floyd Ayete to join Alexander Mitrovic and Sessegnon in attack. The Frenchman had a mixed evening, setting up the teenager for the first chance of the game before testing Scott Carson with a stinging effort from distance himself, but only after he committed a needless foul on Tom Lawrence and almost set Derby on the attack by mistiming a turn on the ball. Worse was yet to come, though, as he was booked for diving in the second half after it coming together with Carson. The pattern of the game certainly followed the second half of the first leg. Mitrovic, who had 6 goals in 7 home games, was heavily involved, much more than at Pride Park, but just as with Sessegnon and Kamara, Carson was equal to everything he threw at him in the first half, including a header from point-blank range. Fulham's entire performance had stepped up a level. They peppered the Derby goal, with 6 of their 12 shots on target before the break. For all of Derby's threat on the counter, of which there was plenty, they failed to work Marcus Bettinelli and paid for it just 2 minutes after the restart when Sessegnon, with calmness beyond his years, controlled and finished Stefan Johansson's knockdown, finally stamping his authority on the tie. Odoi later doubled the lead with a stunning header. Derby reacted well to going behind, but they lacked cutting edge. There was no doubting that, away from home, Derby would face a much bigger challenge to keep it tight, and it all started so well for them, even with Fulham's intent on pushing forward. But Mitrovic was much more involved, giving Curtis Davies, Derby captain and the man who marshalled him so well, more problems, turning him twice and calling Carson into action either side of half-time. Craig Forsyth, too, was fortunate not to concede a penalty for a foul on the Serbian, who isn't one to shy away from confrontation, and told referee Chris Kavanagh exactly what he thought. As the game went on, Carson was needed more and more, but he was powerless to stop Fulham taking the tie by the scruff of the neck. Rowett didn't dwell and, as soon as the second goal went in, he made a double change, bringing Casey Palmer and top scorer Mate Vidra. The immediate response was measured and calm, but they played with tempo and began to stretch Fulham. Palmer was involved straight away, first getting round Sessegnon to no avail and then laying on a cross for Andreas Wyman, who failed to have the deficit on the night with a header despite being unmarked just yards out. David Nugent came on, too, and although Derby opened up, they couldn't break down Fulham's defence, managing just 1 attempt on target. Fulham found a way despite Tom Kearney's quiet performance since Fulham's real surge towards promotion began at the turn of the year. Mitrovic and Sessegnon have rightly grabbed the majority of the headlines, but they would not be half the team they have been without Tom Kearney. Whether they in promotion or not, they will field a lot of calls for the playmakers' services this summer. Derby kept him especially quiet on Friday evening, helping them take an advantage into this game despite Fulham upping their levels in the second half, and although he was a little more involved this time, he wasn't able to play the key passes and dictate the play as he has done so often this season. Rather surprisingly, the weakest part of Fulham's game was their ball retention. Kearney began to drift a little more as space opened up late on, with Derby chasing an equalizer, but the visitors found it easier than they anticipated to break through the lines in the center of the park. Even though he was involved in the opening goal, Johansson didn't have his best game. Once again, Kevin McDonald was the most effective player in midfield for the hosts. Sessegnon and Mitrovic stepped up again to send Jokanovic's men through to Wembley. Jokanovic's men break their playoff curse to reach Wembley. Much was made of Fulham's mental strength after a damaging defeat to Birmingham City on the final day in the first leg loss, which continued their wait for a first playoff win, but they were able to get back to their best when it mattered most and reach Wembley for the first time since 1975. Derby huffed and puffed, but, ultimately, their inability to take chances cost them. Now they have proven their critics, they will be eagerly awaiting their opponent for the richest game in world football. Either Aston Villa or Middlesbrough stand in their way of a return to the Premier League, and it'll be another interesting battle for sure.